What's going on, everybody? My name is Lawrencium, and welcome back to another, well, not really necessarily a discussion video. I haven't done another one of these in a long time, but today I'm joined by two special guests here in real life. This is Bannerack right there, and this is Box from Box and Jackalope. How are we doing today?
Doing good.
I got the post-Blizzcon blues today, but it was an amazing weekend.
Yeah, I agree. I will say it was one of those weekends where it felt really good because it's my second year going to BlizzCon, and I think that everything, all things considered, like we went through a whole global pandemic, we went through a lot of stuff that Blizzard had gone through, and more recently they had the Microsoft Blizzard merger. So, and that went through, and it felt really good to be home. Let's just say that. So, and all things considered, this is your first BlizzCon, so really happy to have you join in on the journey.
I think one of the best parts of BlizzCon for me, like I would say, honestly, was the people. Like I'm usually a guy who's very reserved and quiet. But I really felt like you could talk to anyone at BlizzCon, and I met so many friends along the way. And Ben and I were actually just general admission people, but we were blessed to go to the opening ceremony, and it was just I think being there in person was like a really emotional moment for me. As somebody who grew up with Warcraft, Blizzard games, it's something that meant a lot for me to be there and to be sharing it with my friends for the first time. I think made it more special for me. Mm-hmm. And it's just like now, like I kind of know the flow of the con a little bit, and like the first night I was here, I almost felt like overwhelmed by all the people and stuff, and the time zone change from where I live. But it was really something. And then just seeing like some people I know this, we were in the standby line for the opening ceremony, and all of a sudden, this is the kind of thing that happened at BlizzCon. Chris Metzen just comes around the corner and goes, "For the Horde!" and walks away. And it was like, that's the kind of stuff that just happens like on the regular at BlizzCon.
It's funny. You told me that, and I was just like, I didn't even realize that he was there because like I had already found my seats. This is the first year that I was gifted a media badge, and this was a very humbling moment for me because I'm someone who has done content creation for 10 years, and and going into BlizzCon, I was in the mindset that machinima, because machinima creators, they often felt misunderstood. It felt more niche, and having talked to like a bunch of different content creators who are, whether they're like esports players, they're casters, they do discussion videos, lore videos. Some of them were like, oh yeah, no, World of Warcraft machinima is a very niche category in the Warcraft content creation scene. Yeah. And now that they have said it, I was in one of the media rooms eating my lunch, and one of the esports player, I was actually talking with OK Mage, who is from Echo. She's a streamer from Echo. She has streamed World of Warcraft. She's streamed a lot of Final Fantasy XIV. So I was very fortunate to have met her this weekend, and she was like, "Oh yeah, no. You put a lot of work into this, I see," and it made me realize that, not only her, but like a lot of other people who don't realize that, World of Warcraft machinima is it's very difficult. It's an art. It reignited that passion to go back and to get to work on new machinima. So for the folks at home, you're going to see a lot more machinimas coming up.
This is my first BlizzCon. I'm a shy person by heart. Except when on the camera, I'm very open online and all that stuff. But when it comes to people, I'm not that best with them. But meeting so many people, and like people who know me, apparently, they approached me and they talked to me and they were fans, and it was a burst of energy that was just nice. And just having people approach you, it just made me really happy. Like Fox said, you meet so many people online, and that's just, you can't process it that well, but in a good way. Like, it's like, I'm not used to the people, but it's really great just having friends and people you're not used to and meeting them. It makes me want to come back for the next year, BlizzCon, definitely, especially because it's the 30th anniversary for Warcraft and 20th anniversary for WoW, which is just really special.
I'm someone who is very extroverted, but like the pandemic definitely because I'm like staying inside, I'm talking online. And during the pandemic, I was, I was fortunate enough to like get to know you two a lot more. At the same time, it felt, there was just like a moment of catharsis with both of you, because we met, for our mutual love and cherishment for World of Warcraft. And I was really excited to get to meet you both. And I was really excited to get to meet a lot of some of the friends that I made back in 2019. I was very excited to meet some new content creators who are just experiencing their first BlizzCon, or I haven't really met them at 2019. I will say, one of the perks of having the media badge was getting to go to all these different events. There was a content creator friend who reached out to me regarding some little activities that we were going to be doing. So our first night, we get in, we got to do Korean barbecue, which was really amazing. The next day we went to round 1, we got to do a lot of singing, and then...
Claw machines too.
Oh yeah, the claw machines.
He did those a lot. He got anime figures, guys.
Just yesterday, some of the remaining few that stayed, just wanted to go to Disney on the last day, on that Sunday. They wanted to, they were wanting to celebrate 2 people's birthdays. It was Judge James' birthday and Megaset. It was their birthdays yesterday, so we went out to Fire and Ice, which was wonderful. It was a wonderful experience. I'm someone who really loves buffets, and doing something like that where you get to see the people cook the food and just like really go at it. It felt really amazing. Just like sharing all those good memories with people that you don't necessarily know, but like there were some people that I actually met for the first time yesterday, and I didn't even know they were at BlizzCon. Speaking of people that I met for the first time, I met Platinum WoW for the first time. He was really amazing. I remember, what was it? Because you were waiting in line, or you were just getting to your seat, and Platinum WoW was sitting right behind me during the opening ceremony. So I wanted to like FaceTime you and just say, hey, look who wanted to say hi, and it was Platinum WoW. And I did that again with Mr. GM, because like I was at dinner and he came over and I was like, oh Dan, Box and Bannerek want to meet you. So
I was gonna say that was one of my favorite moments of the con, was Platinum WoW and Mr. GM. Like I didn't get to meet Platinum in person, but I got to see him with Law like on the phone. Like it was really cool.
Yeah.
And then he calls me up. I'm like just like here, like the con recovery day, and all of a sudden I see Mr. GM on his phone. And he's like, oh yeah, he's downstairs. So me, Ban, and Jackal, we run down, we're like, hey, what's up, man? Like, it was really cool.
It was great.
I think one of the, one of the few people that I was so glad to meet. There are 2 people that I was so glad to meet. One was Krexel. Krexel was someone who follows all 3 of us on Twitter. And I was really, really glad to actually just get to meet him for the first time. And I didn't even realize that he was at the con, because like I was laying down in bed. I think I was recovering or like recharging my batteries. This was like right after the
first day, I think.
No, it was the second day. I just came from the mixer.
Oh,
there was a Blizzard mixer that I was invited to, which another thing was like I was super overwhelmed that I was there, and I was just like, so many people, I don't know what they're gonna think. Oh god. But no, everybody was so cool. Everybody was so chill. It was a wonderful, wonderful moment. So we met Krexel when Ban and Box and Jackalope, they walk into my room and they're like, hey, look who we found. I'm like, hey, it's Krexel. Oh my God, Krexel, I know you. You're on Twitter.
Yeah, Krexel reached out to me on Discord and he was like, I came to BlizzCon. And I was like, oh, cool. And we got to meet him. We also got to meet Handclaw.
I was gonna say.
And other content creators like Mr. GM and Platinum WoW, and that was just really special and incredible. We
met, you guys met Taryn Gregory.
That was so fun.
You had to get pictures with him.
I was very fortunate to meet Ian Hazakostas at the Blizzard Mixer. I remember walking up to him and I was like, hey, my name's Lawrencium. In 2019, I was at the Q&A. I was the one that got interrupted. And like he and I had a laugh, and I'm like, sorry for sharing those painful memories, but I got a picture with him. He was such a good sport. I love him. He is really, really awesome. And another person that I'm really, really glad I got to meet this week, her and I, we were talking extensively before, because like this was her second BlizzCon as well. Trap House Annie on Twitter. We were talking, because like I was helping her with like, trying to find her badge, like trying to find where she's gonna pick up her badge. And her and I, we met, we got to know each other very, very well, and we were like this, and it was absolutely a good moment, because like, I went to dinner with Krexel and Annie, like on Saturday night, and we just spilled our guts out. We had a vulnerable moment and just like talked, and that moment, just like we knew that we'd be really good friends. And it just, that's the beauty about BlizzCon, is that like BlizzCon, it's never about the announcements. It's more so about the community. It's celebrating our camaraderie, our friendships, and just everything about what we love about World of Warcraft. So I'm really glad to have met such amazing people, and celebrate what is amazing about World of Warcraft.
I do want to give one shout out before we go to the expansion too. I just want to say, spending the opening ceremony with Handclaw was a super big highlight of the trip for Ban and I. It was super fun.
I was just gonna say it was also really great running into fans. There was one person, I'm sorry if I don't remember your name, but they were talking about a Rotocron, and I was like, oh, I love a Rotocron, and they realized who I was, being Bannerac. It's really hard because I don't look anything like Bannerac, but that was just really great meeting fans who recognized you just by the name Bannerac or Boximus or Lawrencium.
Taliesin and Evitel, I love the crap out of them. I was so honored to go to the weekly reset. They recorded a live session of that, and it was so funny to see like the process being done, and like all the technical jabbers here and there. There was a point where like they were testing the mics, and Taliesin was just like standing up with like one of those handheld microphones, looking like fucking Jerry Seinfeld, and like somebody in the crowd was shouting, "What's the deal with airplane food? I mean, come on!" Let's talk about the opening ceremony, because we have a lot to talk about the opening ceremony, because there is, we got a lot of announcements for World of Warcraft. We talked about Overwatch, Hearthstone, Warcraft Rumble, which love Warcraft, which is a really, really amazing game. I've been playing that extensively during my downtime. Drains the battery though, but I don't care. So we had a lot of announcements, starting with World of Warcraft Classic, Season of Discovery.
Yeah.
That was the biggest hype for someone who's been playing Classic. Box and I have been playing Hardcore Classic. You just got back into Wrath Classic because...
Me too.
Because of the Netherwhelp.
Well, the Netherwhelp.
Yeah.
I just randomly did it. I don't have a reason.
Season of Discovery, that might be the best answer to the Classic Plus that a lot of fans have been looking for. We've gotten we've got like the Black Fathom Depths
raid.
The raid, yeah. I was lucky enough to test that as well. And plus, having a Warlock tank, which by the way, Frank the Tank is now realized.
Yeah, that could actually, I guess Frank the Tank's canon now.
Frank the Tank is officially canon. 10 years in the making. We also have healing mages, shaman tanks, a lot of those, and it shakes up the game. And they teased a Nomergon raid. They teased a Scarlet Crusade, Scarlet Monastery raid. They teased a Karazhan Crypt raid. That was one of those zones that like was locked out since like all the way up to Legion, and now it's just like we get to explore that for the first time. We get content in there. We get a dungeon finally. I am honestly looking forward to that. And also Cataclysm Classic.
Yeah.
Cataclysm was my second expansion in World of Warcraft going into it. There's a couple of changes coming with it. They're going to add the Titan Rune Dungeons Heroic Plus in Cataclysm Classic, which I'm looking forward to. They're adding a streamlined auction house, HD like models. That. I mean, for me, if it's classic, it's got to be the standard models. So
yeah.
I'm sorry, man. You're outweighed 2-1. The meat and bones of the Warcraft presentation was when Chris Metzen came onto stage.
Oh my word!
I'm pretty sure I was close to crying. Like my eyes just like welled up with tears. And seeing Chris Metzen on that stage in person made me feel really, really, really good about the future of World of Warcraft. He made the bold choice. Blizzard made the bold choice of announcing not 1, not 2, but 3 expansions in a saga, the Worldsoul saga, with the first one being The War Within, the second being Midnight, and the third being The Last Titan. So we'll go through these one by one, but let's talk about The War Within first. So we got the cinematic for that, which was, by the way, the most beautiful fucking cinematic that I've ever seen.
That cinematic, do you know what it gave me? And I think Ban will agree with this. It gave me like the Sarfang arc cinematics, like the vibe and tone of those, and I really liked that actually. And you know what's cool about the whole arc the whole saga that we're getting, rather?
Yeah.
What's really cool about that is I think years down the line we're gonna look back at Dragonflight and say, what did we have? You know what I mean? Like, I think the story is about to get into a very dark place where I could see us potentially losing characters that we like in this story arc. I'm worried as heck about
Chris
Illyria.
Metzen did say that things might go awry during midnight because they said that like the shadow, the void, is going to be attacking the Sunwell. We're going to be going back to the old world, Quel'Thalas, and there the elven tribes are going to be reunited. So like there's going to be some sort of like camaraderie in there. We're going to be facing off against some of the darkest shadows there. And he said it in a way that like said, oh yeah, things might not go the way they planned. So that's why that expansion is going to go right into The Last Titan, which is basically the Titans' return to Azeroth. So we're going to Northrend. We're going to go to Ulduar and witness the return of the Titans, which means Eridikron will be joining in, which means we might see Illidan. We might see a lot. We might see a lot of things in that expansion. We might even see Azeroth finally awakening.
That would be
Azeroth.
Cool. I would like that.
I mean, it has been speculated, and it might be true. And I'm thinking 100%, and it's definitely true that Azeroth is the final Titan.
Yep.
I mean, it has been teased since Miss Pandaria. It is a story that has been just like completely tattered in like different pieces that has been teased all over. We had it teased first in Miss Pandaria, obviously at the end of Legion with Sargeras stabbing the sword into Silithus, which by the way, that sword.
We got
a whole arc with like the Heart of Azeroth and like Azorite spilling all over Azeroth. And some of that a little bit, trying to drain the essence of Azeroth.
Magni's coming back.
Magni's coming back. The wound champions. Now we have the War Within, which completely explores that whole story, which is basically that sword was directed at Azeroth. That's what Sargeras was trying to do. He was trying to destroy the world's soul, and now we are going to pay the price. We are going to see the Titans return to Azeroth at the very end of the saga. We might even see Sargeras break out and even try to finish the job. And we have Illidan coming, we might have Illidan as the jailer coming back. He might actually fail his job as being the jailer of Sargeras. We might even see the death of Illidan Stormwage, or even, we might even see him, see Sargeras just, clip his wings and just be done with him.
That would be tragic if something happened before Illidan.
Yeah.
I will say Illidan had a really good arc in Legion.
He did.
It felt like it was natural, and it also left room for him to come back. And I think obviously this arc he is set to come back for one of those hype moments. I think for sure.
I agree. So obviously, let's talk about the features coming into the War Within. So basically, we have Delves, which is basically the answer to new open world content. It's the amalgamation of Torghast, Island Expeditions, and Zagara Vault, and I think the Sniffendigs.
Yeah.
It looks very cool. I mean, you get some treasures from it. There's a whole new slot in your Great Vault for that, which goes up to Heroic Island level, which I am really, really excited for because I have been looking for new content to sink my teeth into.
Warbands is a great feature for ults. If you are an ultaholic like me, or Box, or Law, a lot of ults. Warbands is a great feature, and also lets you put your own characters on a loading screen. It's your entire account, as far as I know. I don't know the exact limit. You could just put your characters on there and level with them like they were quest partners, and that's terrific.
The loading screen is very, very reminiscent of. There was an earlier back in alpha. There was an earlier look at what the loading screen would look like, where everybody's just standing so heroically. I think that's definitely a huge callback to that. So I am very, very solemnly so excited about that. So basically, Warbands is looking really, really cool. For just having your own alts being in its own camp.
Right.
And for Box, he told me that's where I'm going to put all my illegal alts.
Yeah, I'm going to look at it. He's going to be like, hey, Box, look at my Lightforged Warlock, my Void Elf Monk. What else does Law have? Ed the Warlock. gnome monk or something, a mechanome.
Mechanome rogue, Tauren rogue. A lot of.
If you're a role player like me, you're gonna put your characters that are family or friends. Like I've got Ban and his grandson and his son and just all that, and I think that's really cool because you can do that.
It's basically the answer of sharing account-wide transmogs. It's the answer to sharing account-wide banks and gold. It's basically not having to like transfer gold from like one alt to another because that could be very, very cumbersome. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what this alt gameplay and trading gear as well, because there's some warbound, like it's basically warbound at this point. So like if you get an item, it's basically warbound until that person gets the gear, until that person equips it, then it becomes soulbound. So I am very much looking forward to that because it's basically your answer of gearing your alt. It's basically the answer what Final Fantasy XIV has done in the past, where you can level up your alts. You're able to like change what job your character does. So for instance, if you're a bard, like you start off as a bard, you level your bard to like level like 30, maybe level 40. And you decide, oh, I might want to play something else. Like I might be an astrologian, so I'm probably going to be leveling that to level 40. So right now, you can switch jobs. You don't have to go to a different character and like replay the whole story. The story of Final Fantasy XIV, I love the story, but sometimes it can drag on for miles and miles on end. But we're not here to talk about Final Fantasy XIV. We're here to talk about World of Warcraft. The Earthen Allied race that came out of left field, especially. For like Horde and Alliance. So like you get Horde dwarves, which to box is going to be very, very illegal. He'll probably be like delete that Earthen alt.
Because he's going to make like an Earthen monk just to get to me. But I will say something, I want to say something positive about the Earthen actually, because when they were announced, I was like, oh, that's interesting. But the more I've heard about some of them, like I think they're going to be an interesting addition to the factions. And it is kind of nice where you have like that kind of skeleton on both factions now too. So I'm sure there are people that have wanted to play like a dwarf from the Horde or something, you know. So I think more flexibility and for people to play what they want to is always nice. Like I joked a lot about delete that alt, but in reality, I do think it's very cool if people can play what they want. Like I'm a huge fan of the fact that you can play as like an Eridar now, like and how their storyline wasn't. I'll be brief about this. Wasn't about being a good person. It's about doing something good after the bad they did. They did that really well, I thought.
And yeah, no, I love the heritage armors, the little rubies on their shoulder pads.
Yeah.
They're like just decked out in rubies.
Yeah,
I absolutely love that. There has been a lot of agency with what you want to play in World of Warcraft. Yeah. So obviously, seeing as you can play now, you know, in Eridar, you can play
Dark Ranger.
You can play Dark Ranger. Yeah, and you know, you can play the Dark Ranger, like the Dark Ranger customization. The list just goes on, and that's what I'm hoping for, you know, in the next expansion. So pretty much, and I know Ben has a question. I know what he's going to say, and I think we're all gonna say it on 1, 2, 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Machnathal.
Let's go.
There we go.
And Broken Draenei.
And Broken Draenei too.
And Broken Draenei. We all want those.
We talked about Dark Rangers for just a second. That's one of the hero specs right there. We also have. Quite a few. We talked about the Death Knight ones, the Riders of the Apocalypse,
I love that one.
Sandlane, Deathbringer, Shadowpan. What was it? Void Weaver, Oracle, Archon,
Scale Commander
Scale Commander too.
Pack Leader boys.
Farseer. We got Farseer for shamans. The Warlocks I wasn't too keen on. I don't think I've like followed that as well. I did take a lot of pictures at the deep dive, so I am very much looking forward to that. I know when we were talking with Quest devs about the hero specs, and they were like, oh yeah, you know, there's the Death Knight ones that we worked on. We are very, very proud of that one, so look forward to that at the deep dive tomorrow. I'm like, oh boy, oh boy. And they did not disappoint, so I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm very interested to see what kind of gameplay that they have coming forward. So hopefully it's something really, really, really cool. So
Melee Hunters.
Melee Hunters.
I would love that.
Well, you already have Survival.
Well, Melee Beastmaster Hunters.
Yeah, dual wield.
I think a dual wielding hunter.
Yeah.
Dual wielding like Rexar.
So let's talk about the zones. The zones look absolutely beautiful, and the dungeons too. We got a tease of the raid, the first raid that we're going into in Season 1, Nurubar Palace.
Yeah, I like that.
it's a very vertical raid. So like they gave us like a glimpse of like what it looked like from like a side view. So like obviously there's one where you like dip into like the underground, and then obviously you go forward, backwards, and then you go up. It looks very complicated from that position, but like at the same time, I'm very excited to see what kind of spiders we get to fight, and we get to fight the queen herself. So
very Mantid-esque.
Yeah,
I was gonna say it's very reminiscent of the Mantid, but I mean you have to remember that the Nerubian are they're also like they're also the same as the Mantid, in terms of like being insects.
These Nerubians also made the queen made a bargain with Xalatath, who's most likely the big villain of this expansion. We don't know for sure, but it's likely looking like that right now. But I really like it when Blizzard introduces new villains. I think Dragonflight did a really good job with the Incarnates. Razageth was which was one of the Incarnates, but was great as one of the first raid tier bosses. Sarkareth was very well done. And
I've heard really good things about Farak, so I'm very much looking forward to seeing what Farak is going to bring to the table. And 10.2 is going to release. Yeah, it's going to be released tomorrow, actually.
Yep.
So next week we're going to see a lot. We're going to see the cinematic. We're going to see the end cinematic for Muttercell. I'm very much looking forward to that, seeing what they have planned, what they're cooking. I'm not expecting Azeroth to awaken or anything. So obviously, she's not going to pull out the sword and completely stab Farak.
Okay, I could just be no.
At this point, it's basically like like the sword itself, like the blade of the sword is like trying to pierce a fly. It's like a toothpick going at a fly. But of course, we also have the zones itself. So we have the Isle of Dorn being the first zone. We have the Falls. I can't remember the name of it.
I forget the name of it.
It's a very forgettable zone. I feel like it looks a lot like the Waking Shores. I'm going to call it Underground Waking Shores.
Well, yeah, it'll be a code name for it, Underground Waking.
Yeah, so I feel like that would be it. We do have the Nerubian zone, Ashkahet.
That one's great.
Ashkahet is really good. That's like at the very, very bottom. But like, there's one zone I'm really excited to talk about.
With the Arath.
Hollowfall.
Yeah, dude,
Hollowfall. Hollowfall is a beautiful zone. They talked about what that crystal is at the top. A lot of people speculated that it would be the Sword of Sargeras.
Nope.
But it's not the case. It is basically the perpetual light that all the fauna are just strangely, like the fauna and flora are attracted to. They are just like attracted to it. So like you can see like some of the trees are like bending, some of the flowers are bending, some of the wildlife is just enamored by that. And then there's like some points during that time where it just like glows like purple.
And that's when the Nerubians start attacking the Arathi like crazy, which the Arathi are a faction that is kind of stuck underground, I believe. They're stuck there, or they went there.
Well, they were splintered off, and I believe they were splintered off, and they've been stuck down there for a period of time.
And that crystal is what has allowed them to survive down there. So whenever it turns void, it really puts them in danger, and I believe there's some infighting among them, so I'm sure we'll have some sort of dungeon.
We have two dungeons there. We do have the Holy Flame that they're going to be using, which basically powers their machines, their zeppelins even. So I'm really psyched to see what they have in plan there. I'm really excited to see Isle of Dorn. Yeah. Isle of Dorn looks really cool because that's where the Earthen are basically situated. And there's like a meadery, right? So it's like a flame brew that they had, and there's like flame bees, which I don't think that could be any scarier. Flame bees? Are you kidding me?
10 Stormstout might go to get some mead, though. I could see that.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Chen Stormstout out there. The Dragonscale Expedition is going to be going. The Dragonscale Expedition is going to be returning, so I'm really excited to see that coming up.
We obviously have Anduin, who's returned. He's not looking so great. He's been kind of depressed ever since the Shadowlands saga. Don't blame the guy. But you got Anduin. He doesn't have his light anymore, which is very coincident with what's going on with the Arathi. And then you have Thrall, who is gotten really good connections with the elements, and so he's kind of... I feel like he has a better understanding of Azeroth's voice than Magni, because I feel like Magni was deceived by the old gods, so I feel like Thrall's going to kind of be our guide there. And then you also have Illyria. And Illyria's been this... she's been the most void-friendly character we've ever had, and she's obviously the eldest sister of Sylvanas. And she's going to apparently have some kind of rivalry going on between Xalatath and herself. So we can expect those main characters. Those are the main three we know.
Right.
However, there's also been characters spotted throughout the cutscenes and the reveals. You've got Moira, the leader of the Dark Iron Dwarves.
We saw Talanji.
You have Princess Talanji. Queen Talanji.
Queen. Yeah, careful there, bud.
Careful. And then you have Dogron, the second, who is the... for the longest time, he's been trapped as a baby. He's like the Grogu of Warcraft. He is now... he is a grown adult, just like Anduin. Anduin's like 25, 26 now, same age as me.
His new design looks sick. Yeah.
Oh, he looks...
You know what? I was... who did I tell this? I was telling Logan, Anduin looks a lot like our friend Corey Missildine. Corey Missildine Online. And I saw that, and I was just like, I can't unsee it. I mean, without the glasses, it's just, I mean, just put a pair of glasses on Anduin, and just like, it's right there. The characters themselves look amazing. The character designs look amazing. Yeah. The cinematic itself is really amazing. So basically, let's talk about the cinematic, because it starts off with basically Anduin, like, you know, sitting alone. You know, we notice that Charlemagne does not have its light. He's basically, you know, just disheveled, like his chapped lips. He's like very sun-blotched. Like he has a very, like he's kind of like a buzz cut haircut, and like we see like his like beard, like a stubble right there, a 5 o'clock shadow. And it's just like, it feels so weird, like, because like when we were first introduced to Anduin, he was just a boy.
Right.
Like he was just a young man. And now like a young lad, just like being under the care of like Bolvar Fordragon. And now we see Anduin as this like disheveled, very broken man who's just like lost his light. He's not the person that he was, you know, going into Shadowlands. And now he's like this person that's just like unrecognizable. Yep. And him and Thrall have been hearing these voices, sort of like it's like a heartbeat. But you know, in the cinematic, we see Thrall coming to him saying, you know, we need, you know, you needed time, but you know, now, you know, I've been hearing the voices, and you know, you're not alone in this.
There's a lot of parallels between Thrall and Anduin. Like Box said earlier, it's very reminiscent to the Saurfang cinematics, and I feel like that was done with purpose, because Thrall, just like Anduin, had given up. He had lost his own version of the light, the elements. He had lost so much, and he had given up so much, and he was tired, and just wanted to be left alone to his own devices. And Saurfang approached him and was like, we don't get to hide. And that's exactly what Anduin quoted to Thrall, and that's exactly what Anduin needed to hear. Thrall was the perfect person to approach Anduin. Some people are like, oh, it should have been Gen, oh, it should have been Jaina, it should have been so many characters. No,
there is something very interesting that I wanted to touch on, because during the cinematics, so like we hear Thrall like come in, but like we have like this blue lightning, like this blue light from the end. Weird. So we were speculating that it might have been Jaina that like teleported Thrall there.
I love that.
So it is very possible that Jaina did teleport Thrall to that place, which, you know, I'm pretty sure it was probably like on the edge of like Oldham and Silithus.
Yeah. So Thrall is a real one, by the way, with what he does. And Anduin's like giving up so much in despair, and is just a tragic character. And when he's about to act out on vengeance or anger or whatever on Thrall, Thrall sees that he's not got his heart into that, and he tells Anduin, I trust you. Even though Anduin's been through it and is pointing literally at his heart with a sword, he still believes in Anduin, and Anduin is lifted by that a little bit.
That cutscene too, like the emotion in Anduin's face when he's talking to Thrall was like so well done. There was so much. At Thrall, meet Ban, Law and I before BlizzCon, every time we'd see a Thrall banner, by the way, we'd point at it. But I just want to say that. But real talk, the part at the end that I love is when, after that heart-to-heart, they talk about the sword and that music kicks in from Silithus. Hearing that live, I got the biggest goosebumps, and I was like, oh my god, this is going to be a heck of an expansion. That announcement was just super good.
But that sword.
was aimed at someone.
And I think that line has like very big meaning because, like I mentioned earlier, Sargeras, when he stabbed Azeroth with the sword, he knew that like he was going to go for Azeroth. He knew that Azeroth was not yet ready to awaken.
Right.
Now, this is the start of the Worldsoul saga where Azeroth is just finally starting to awaken. Like we can hear her voice, we can hear her cries, and like for the first time, we are hearing Azeroth's voice. It feels so.
It feels like everything's getting tied up in a nice bow.
Yeah.
And everything.
No, it feels like everything is coming full circle. But like hearing the world that we have lived on for 20 years, hearing that voice for the first time, it feels very. I mean, it feels like everything is just going to be, it feels very, very good. So I'm looking forward to it.
I forget where I read this, but I read it somewhere. I didn't even realize, too, The War Within is kind of a duality title for the expansion between, I think, like, I saw somebody on Twitter post it today. It was just in my feed, but, like, between, like, how Anduin's feeling and then the war within the planet itself. Because Anduin's dealing with a conflict.
Like, he's dealing with his own internal strife.
Right.
I mean, there have been characters that have dealt with that. We've had Thrall deal with that. We've had Jaina deal with that.
Yep.
And now Anduin is dealing with that as well. And now, we're going to get to see Anduin get back into action and, like, really fight for what he believes in. So now, what I'm really hoping for is that, like, he can return as king to, like, lead the Alliance into a prosperous future. And, hopefully then, I mean, and obviously, there might be a little bit of strife, a little bit of civil war within the Alliance. So obviously with Turalyon.
I was going to say, I have a theory on how that might go. So we've already had that civil war storyline twice with the Horde. Right. So I'm wondering if, because Turalyon already has all this experience fighting on Argus and stuff, if maybe at some point he'll step into a higher role. Maybe he won't want to be High King of the Alliance and he'll let Anduin come back. Because for some reason, I don't know if they're going to villain bat Turalyon. I don't know if they're going to.
I could see it only if the light influences him.
Yeah, that's what I think might happen.
So many people, I don't know, like, some people have different perspectives on this, but when Zira first appeared, Turalyon's eyes were golden lit. Yeah. And the moment she died, they faded. And Turalyon, who had been calm, collect, and we hadn't really seen him rage out at any point at that time. He raged out on Illidan. And, like, it's not like one of those things where it's like, that's not a proper thing he would do, but it seems like Zira has influence on people. And I wouldn't be surprised if the light does that to everyone, and if it might do that to Turalyon.
Like Yrel. And
like Yrel. So I feel like if the Alliance goes bad, it would be the light's doing, not not Turalyon's doing. So it would be less about, like, trying to kill or like it wouldn't be like Garrosh where it's like Garrosh is in the wrong and we need to stop him and kill him. It's we need to save Turalyon and save the Alliance from itself because they're very light heavy. The Horde is not. No. Which is why it's perfect for the Horde to be like, oh, what's going on?
I love my Zandalari Paladin.
Tazinzi.
The
lead Tazinzi.
He packs a bunch. Does a good deal.
But no, so the cinematic was really well done. 10 out of 10.
I would agree with that.
I feel like it's a really good, precursor to the Worldsoul saga, and so I'm really excited to see what pans out for the next few years. Which, by the way, they said it could be finished by 2030, and by then I'll be 35 years old.
Don't even say that, because I will be too.
Oh fuck, dude, we're getting old.
I know.
Old people.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh no. I'm already starting to sprout gray hair on my beard. So just.
Wow, now you know how Thrall's going through it.
Oh yeah, no.
That guy's only like 40. He's like 39 right now.
But I'm going through it right now. It's been a very tumultuous era for World of Warcraft, as we've gone from like Legion to BFA, Shadowlands, and Dragonflight. Dragonflight was the stepping stone to like. It wasn't perfect. I will say that there were some flaws, there were some inconsistencies with the story, but with this Worldsoul saga, it feels like we are in a brand new era, like an era of Chris Metzen returning to like, it's a return to form. So that's what I'm absolutely excited for. So
Dragonflight felt like a bridge, which I think was fine. And I really like Dragonflight. I actually consider it one of my favorite expansions. I think, we had two pretty... I like BFA, but we had pretty two divisive expansions. We had BFA and Shadowlands, which really... I know they both have their fans too, obviously, but they both really fractured the player base. And I think a lot of people want that return to form from the
Where
lore.
everybody likes it.
Yeah.
Wrath, Legion. Funnily enough, Mr. Pandaria was a fracturing expansion, but it was amazing, and people kind of they went back.
People went back on it because they knew that the story was really good. They knew that the features and the gameplay was amazing. They knew that the raids were amazing. I was talking to someone yesterday saying Throne of Thunder was the best raid in World of Warcraft. And I agree with them. It was definitely up there as a really, really good raid. I wouldn't necessarily say it was the best, but it was definitely up there as probably number 2. Same with Siege of Orgrimmar. That raid was really well done.
Oh my god, I remember waiting for the ending of Siege of Orgrimmar.
Oh my god,
I was
right?
like, who's gonna be the war chief? And then Vol'jin. Oh, Vol'jin, love you, man.
Rest in peace.
Rip and
until you come back.
I think definitely this is a new age for World of Warcraft, and I'm very excited for it. It felt really good to celebrate it at BlizzCon of all places, to really hone in on that very, very cherished moment with all y'all. Now, that said, I do want to talk about BlizzCon, the convention itself, because I will say this, I had a lot of fun this year. I will say this was probably one of the best years, in terms of community, of celebrating everything World of Warcraft. The announcements were amazing. BlizzCon, the convention itself, had a lot of logistical issues. So starting off with the opening ceremony, when they were raffling seats, obviously a select few people would get a seat in the crowd, and the rest would just watch it in a hall or something. In recent years, and in the last few BlizzCons, they had announcements strewn across different halls. So obviously, you would have the Overwatch announcements in the arena. You would have the World of Warcraft announcements in Hall D, or the Hearthstone ones in C. This year felt a little bit different because most of the stuff that was happening was on the first floor, whereas there was also Darkmoon Fair on the second floor in 2019. The Darkmoon Fair was in Hall D this year, and
it was hard to get into.
It was very hard to get into because the Darkmoon Fair, I think I spent less time in the Darkmoon Fair than any of the other halls. The Diablo Hall looked sick. It looked sick as hell.
We got sacrificed at the thing.
I saw, yeah. Yeah, Peter Griffin death. I got killed by Hogger and a few Defias pillagers. The logistical issues was that, a lot of people were sitting down, or they were it was standing room only for watching the ceremony, and there were some panels that they couldn't watch because they were trying to switch over, and it was just hard to do that.
Yeah.
So obviously one of the things was somebody who organized BlizzCon in the last few years, they were laid off during COVID, and the people who took over kind of they tried to reinvent the wheel. And they did that, and it just didn't feel right. My philosophy is if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
And another thing was the line getting merch. That was an absolute shit show too, because we had you
would pre-buy stuff, and then you'd have to go back and then wait in a long line.
Which I do agree with. Obviously that was a smart decision. In recent years, they had the BlizzCon app where you could pull up a QR code. You'd wait in a queue, so you'd sit down, you wait in queue, and they'd call your name. And that I feel like that would be a lot smarter. But considering that there was just a long line on Friday, I decided to go Saturday morning because it didn't feel right. You also had the Darkmoon Fair, which they closed off the Darkmoon Fair on Saturday morning, which it was a mess. It was an absolute mess. But otherwise, going into the arena, that was also a mess because there were lines. I remember I was walking with a friend what was her name? Jackie Cakes. I was walking with Jackie Cakes. I had just met her. We were just talking about getting in line for the deep dive, and we were just like, oh yeah, I mean, for general admission, it's like an hour wait, and I'm hoping that like with a media badge, it would be a little bit different.
We got very lucky that we were able to, as general admission, we got into the opening ceremony because like what the thing I think was a little messed up for people, and like I mean this with all respect for like feedback purposes for the convention. I think that raffle should have been announced when people bought tickets, because I'm sure there are people that had they could have just waited to get in the morning would have to it. And I understand maybe they're trying to avoid that, but I think announcing a raffle a few days before, like, just as rough for people.
Yeah, it felt very, very messy. I will agree with you on that one. But overall, I think the con itself was a lot of fun.
It was amazing.
It was a lot of fun. Probably the best I've been in probably, I don't know. I mean, 2019 was my first convention. This year was a lot of fun. This year I didn't get interrupted though, but I did make it to the stream by shouting "Champion" during Terran's presentation of Magni. Champion, the wounds champion.
I was very happy.
Oh man, I loved that, and I told him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I loved that too." Like he and I had a good laugh about it. It's funny because like now, we're on our last day. It's Monday. We're flying back tomorrow. I do want to ask you guys, if there's any final thoughts, closing things. What was your favorite part of the convention? So, I'm gonna go and ask both of you your favorite parts, and I'm gonna ask Jackalope too, so she can probably hop in on the camera as well.
My favorite part of the convention was one. I would say it's so much when I start thinking about it, and I think everybody who went would say this. Is the people you met. I met so many friends, like Handclaw, Logan was really chill, like so many people, Krexel, and the list goes on and on. I met so many new people, and it was, I said at the start of this, I'm a very quiet person, and a lot of these people were very easy to talk to, so I had a really fun time. I got to meet Taryn Gregory, who's an absolute hero of mine in the industry, other Blizzard developers, so it's just, you don't forget those interactions, I think. Being there live for some of the announcements was incredible. Walking around the floor, seeing those set pieces from the games we love, like, it felt like home in a way. Like, I've been to other gaming conventions, and, like, I've never been to one that made me feel quite like this as far as the social interaction goes. To anyone that came up to me and even took time out of your day to say hi to me, thank you. Or anyone that like I would go up to and talk to, thank you, or take pictures with. It was really just a really fun experience, and like I'm excited for the future of World of Warcraft Rumble. I really, really like. But yeah, I mean, there's so much more I could say. The announcements were great. The food in California is pretty good.
Very expensive.
It is expensive. That's the not good part about it. The
very big.
Here.
Mirroring Box's words, meaning the people. Like I said earlier, Logan was great. That guy was so nice to me and Box, and he was a fan of both of us. Fan of a lot of people, really. We also got to meet Christy Golden and get some things signed. The author for Scaleborn, which is a great book so far. Love Erudicron. Love how Neltharion's portrayed. It's a really great book. Definitely read it. I also got the Pandaria book signed. But yeah, meeting the people, meeting Krexel, meeting Platinum WoW, running into Belluar. Really wish I got to actually interact with him and talk with him, but just meeting so many people, content creators, normal people, and just talking with them about what we love. And again, like Box said, it felt like home. And seeing like the sword and Silithus right in front of us, getting sacrificed to Diablo at the very end of BlizzCon, it felt so magical and great. And I'm so sad that it's over. I've got the BlizzCon blues bad. And I definitely want to come next year, any way I can.
So I guess just to echo you guys, it was really cool to see how everybody came together. Some were complete strangers, some knew each other online but had never seen each other before, but everybody kind of just melded together perfectly. It was really cool just to like see all the energy with everybody. I really liked the prop design of the different rooms. Like Dark Moon Fair was hard to navigate, but it was super cool. The World of Warcraft, like the tavern room, was incredible. The statues were cool. The Overwatch section was really, really cool. The way it was all...
I loved the Overwatch
Yeah.
the room right there. So much fun.
Diablo, super cool as well. But yeah, overall, a great time.
All right, cool.
And hearing Metzen take the stage, that was legendary. That was like
Very, very cool.
always wanted to meet Metzen. He's like one of my heroes next to Terran. I mean, Terran was great, but Chris Metzen just come to the stage and be like, Horde, where are you at? It's completely different than it. Like, obviously, there's the same level of encouragement and like just. It's like Bloodlust just went out. It's in person. It's even better than it is on the BlizzCon line or whatever. It was just great. The virtual tech.
This was the first year that I was recognized as a content creator for World of Warcraft. The first year that I've gotten the privileged access to walk the floor, do a lot of vlogging, doing a lot of pictures. I bought a Polaroid camera this year to take a lot of pictures with all my friends. It feels very cathartic that after 4 years, after COVID, after everything that happened with Blizzard, now we are in a new age of Blizzard Entertainment. We are in a new age of Warcraft and Overwatch and Diablo. That now it is about damn time that we're returning to this sort of sense of normalcy. Right. But meeting some old friends and new friends, getting to hug them for the first time, or even the first time in years, it felt really good. And even seeing some in real life friends, seeing Ryan, seeing my friend Nick, and seeing my friend Dylan, whom I haven't even seen in like almost 7 years, it felt absolutely amazing. And meeting some people who recognized me from doing machinima work and getting to do the Frank voice for them, saying Happy BlizzCon and all that. It honestly felt really, really amazing. I get the BlizzCon blues like no other. Yesterday was I woke up and I just felt bummed that it was over.
Yeah.
I felt mellowed, and I felt relieved at the same time that I'm done. BlizzCon is over. All the people that I've seen in the last few days, they're going home or they're going to Disney, and meanwhile we're busy with our own thing. So now it's just where did the time go? So, but either way, it was wonderful meeting a lot of people at BlizzCon this year, some old, some new. It was really wonderful to really get to experience the BlizzCon stage for the first time. Really wonderful to react to the World of Warcraft stuff and everything else with Mr. G sitting right next to me, sandwiched right between him and his brother, sitting right in front of Platinum WoW, getting to really interact with some of the content creators, some of the community managers for the NA and EU team. I was very, very happy to meet Linksy, who is the community manager for content creators for World of Warcraft and NA. Varia, who's the content manager or the creator content manager for EU. I'm still bummed that I didn't get to meet Lugia Blaster, who's another content creator. I like to think of him as sort of like my content creator liaison. But Alex, next year, I'm hoping to meet you soon. I was really looking forward to it this year. But seriously, to the people who I met this year for the first time or even gotten to know, especially, like I mentioned earlier, Krexel, Trap House Annie, those two, I am really, really fortunate to have met you guys, and Judge James too, for organizing all these different events for us, like, Korean barbecue, Fire and Ice, round 1, celebrating your birthday, all of that, being a part of this niche community makes me feel a lot better about what I do for World of Warcraft Machinima, and I hope to continue that further down the line and not burn myself out again, because god damn it, I'm very, 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 very empowered by the camaraderie here at BlizzCon and the World of Warcraft community.
Same.
So, got stuff ahead.
That said, those are our thoughts on BlizzCon 2023. I want to know what your guys' thoughts are. Let me know in the comments section down below. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this. If you guys want to tell the audience where you can find you guys.
I do World of Warcraft Machinima at Boxing Jackalope. I also do lore videos. I had a podcast that I'd like to get going again, but you can subscribe to us there if you want to.
I might even do a podcast as well. I mean, I might join you at the fire.
I would love that. You gotta join us at the Komai campfire.
I do.
Bring it back.
You gotta bring it back. Bring it back with passion. And where can they find you, Ben?
They can find me, Benerick, on Twitter and on YouTube. I mostly do Machinima, but I also do lore videos, reaction videos, tons of WoW content. That's where you can find me. I go by Skull Shorties as well, but it's supposed to be Benerick, but everyone calls me Skull Shorty still. But yes, that's where you can find me, and I've got so much stuff planned with these guys, and it's going to be great.
We're looking forward to it. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. We love you guys. We cannot wait to get back to making the content that we have made for you guys in the last however long years, X amount of years. My name has been Lawrencium. I love you guys. Love each other. Love yourselves. And I will see you guys in the next video.